Hey, June. How's everybody doing today? Got to go to work this afternoon. I'm loving my new job. Um, I like dealing with the elderly again. Glad to be back working with the elderly again. And just very glad to be away from the children. I hate to say that, but I really hate to say that, but that's the way I feel. And that's what I want to talk about. I told you guys I was going to give you more details about um, some of the issues that was having on my last job. I was working at a daycare center, and um, my main reason for leaving for um, was health reasons. Just physically, just can't do the work anymore. Um, it's just you got to have a lot of physical stamina to be able to work with children. You have to be in good physical condition to work with children because a lot of times you have to chase them, um, you have to intervene when they're fighting with each other, and sometimes they get combative, and you got to restrain them. And so it takes a lot of, if your body is not in good shape, and you're not in good shape, or you have any kind of physical problems with your body, it's very difficult to work with them. It's difficult to do that. So I'm having problems with my back, and so I just couldn't do it no more. I mean, my back was not letting me do it no more. So that was my primary reason for leaving. But I was having a lot of some other issues with this particular job. And one thing, first of all, first thing, the money is not long. um, the pay is just not good. I was an assistant teacher, and I had been working at this daycare for 4.5 years, and I was assistant teacher, and I was only making 9.40 an hour out the door. That's what I made out the door, 9.40 an hour. Now, this job that I'm filling in at assisted living facility today, I'm making $10 an hour today. That's just for today, but that just go to show you that when I left there, I was there for 4.5 years, and I was only making 9.40 an hour. Now I knew going in that um, the money, wasn't going to be long. It wasn't going to be good. I was in a position to where I really needed a job, and I just kind of fell into that job. It's not like I woke up one day and I said, "Oh, I want to work with children. I love children so much. I want to work with them. I have a passion for them." And I just kind of fell into this job, as I told you guys in my last video, maybe some of my other videos, that um, my other job, kind of forced me to resign. So I was in a position to where I really needed to work, and so I actually found that job looking for through the phone book, believe it or not. Just looking through the phone book, gave him a call, you know, it went from there. But, I don't knock it because it was a really huge blessing at the time and I really needed the money. But I just kind of fell into that job. I just kind of fell into it. I really didn't say, oh, I have a passion working with children and I really want to work with children. I really love them and all this kind of stuff. And I do. Don't get me wrong. I do love children, but I want to love them from a distance. I don't want to be up close and personal with them, you know. And I know that might sound mean, but I'm explaining to you some reasons why I feel that way. Just bear with me. Um, Now, I don't knock this job because um, I winded up actually getting 2 certifications on this job. Because in addition to working with the children, I also filled in the kitchen. and I managed to get a food manager's certification for the kitchen. You know, I got tons of food service experience, so I filled it in the kitchen on this job. So I got my food manager certification, and I got my what they call CDA, child care credential certification. So I winded up getting 2 certifications on this job. So that's always a good thing. Anytime when you can get any kind of certification for doing something, it adds to your resume. You can put that on your resume. It makes your resume look good, makes your resume stand out. You know, it shows the employer that you started something and you completed it and you finished it and you got certification that you're really qualified to do this. So I thought that was a beautiful thing. I thought that was a wonderful thing that I was able to get that. It's a huge blessing. But you would think that after I got that, I would have gotten a raise, but I didn't. And I just think that, you know, on this particular job, um, there was a lot of favoritism. There was a lot of favoritism, and some people, she felt, you know, the director felt like it was more important to give some people this amount of money, other people not so much money, you know. But I'm not going to really go into that because that's going to be a whole nother video. But right now, I'm just going into the reasons that I don't want to work in childcare anymore. That is not a career for me, not a long-term career. Um, and so the certifications was wonderful. I'm not knocking that. That's always a good thing. But after I received the certification, like I interviewed for a job at an assisted living facility, and they said at this assisted living facility, they said that we'll help you get your nurse's aide certification, and once you get it, you will get a raise. I didn't take the job because, um, long story, some of the things that they wanted me to do, I didn't think I was going to physically be able to do it on that specific shift they was asking. Anyway, but that's what they said. Now, that seems like to me it makes sense. Once you get a certification in something, you're working on a particular job, and you get certified to do that particular job, or whatever the certification um, that the job requires. You should, after you complete that and you get it, you should be able to get a raise. That seemed like it's protocol, but I didn't get a raise after I got it. People say, well, you should have went and asked for a raise. Why should I have to ask for a raise for getting a certification that you knew I already got? It was a requirement of the job, and that should be automatic. I should automatically get a raise if I'm getting certified in this particular job. I should automatically get a raise. I could have just said I quit and I'm not going to do it and not even gotten it, you know. So the fact that I took the time to go through the process to get it, you know, I should have been able to get a raise. But I do believe that she gave certain people raises for receiving the certification. I didn't get it. So I was kind of upset about that. Um, um, I was a little apprehensive. People said we should ask for a raise. I was a little apprehensive of asking for a raise because I was in an assistant teaching position, and to get that position, I was put on trial. Even though I was already doing the work, um, that I was already doing the work and I was already proving myself that I could capably do it, I was still being questioned about whether I can do the job. So I was put on trial and all this and put all this, and I had to jump through some hoops to even get that position. The only reason why I wanted the position because it was more hours. It wasn't a power thing. It was going to be more hours, and I figured it was going to be more pay in the long run. Well, I didn't get much of a raise. I think I only got like a 10-cent raise, you know, maybe 15 cents at the most. And I did get more hours. I did wind up getting 40 hours a week, so that was good. Um, but I didn't get the money that I thought I was going to get getting the position. So I felt like I had to jump through some hoops just to get that. So my thought was, if I go ask for a raise, well, how many hoops am I going to have to jump through to try to get this raise, to try to prove myself that I'm worthy of this raise, when I knew that I was already worthy of it. So I had some issues with that there. And I felt like overall, everybody in the whole facility was was for the most part was underpaid, except for the people that felt like she wanted to pay good money. Um, Everybody was underpaid because the things that you have to put up with in childcare, working in childcare, the things that you have to put up with the children, it should be a higher paying field. Now, there's some places like in my city where I live in, there's Head Start. The Head Start program does pay teachers more money, but you got to be certified. But once you get certified there, you don't make any more money. And the things that you have to go through with the children, um, I mean, oh my goodness, you guys don't know the half of it. I was kicked, hit, cussed out, called the B word, the F word. Um, Now these are my 3 year olds, mind you. I was one time was head butted in the mouth. I still got redness on my gum line because of that. Um, Hit, kicked, bitten, punched. Yes, 3 year olds. Uh, there's times I've had to restrain children to keep them from hurting me or hurting another child. I've had children hurling chairs across the room. Um, just very, 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 very stressful job. Working in childcare is very, very stressful. Very stressful. Very stressful job because um, there's a lot of liability that comes with working with children. A lot more liability than working with the elderly. When you work with the elderly, you basically just have to make sure that their needs are met. You have to make sure that you're doing everything that you should be doing for them. As long as you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing with them and not neglecting them, then you're good with the elderly. With children, it's a lot more deeper than that. You not only have to make sure that their needs are met, but you have to make sure that they stay safe. You have to keep them from trying to kill each other. You have to keep them from trying to attack you. And then you got to keep them from falling or and killing themselves or seriously injuring themselves there. That's tricky in itself because if the children got so much as a scratch, and I mean a scratch, we had to document, we had to do incident reports. Now, before I left, they changed the incident reports to where you have to call the parent first before you can turn it in, you know. And you have to document what time you called the parent, even if it's just for a scratch. So that was stressful within itself, just trying to stop kids from, running. And we had a policy, no running in the classroom, and they be running, and you tell them not to run. They hard-headed. They don't listen. They keep running, and they fall. If they hit their head, which I can understand a bruise or something like that, but a little scratch has to be reported. With children is a huge liability with children. The liability for children is just really, really huge. If people don't play when it comes to their kids, and I guess I can't say I blame them. And that's a lot of stress. You have to teach. We're responsible for teaching the children, making sure that the children's needs were met, like they were fed, and if they had any diapers or pillows that had need to be changed, making sure that they got changed and tolerated properly, and making sure that they stayed clean. All that make sure the physical needs were met. We had to teach. We're responsible for teaching them, singing to them, reading to them, playing with them, all that, helping them with art projects and things like that. And then on top of that, we had to making sure that they stay safe, keep them from killing each other. You spend half of the time in daycare, childcare, trying to keep the children from killing themselves, each other. Okay, you have to play referee most of the time. And so I just thought that was very challenging, and I thought that was very stressful within itself. And where I was working, the management was not giving us a whole lot of support. When we was dealing with a really combative child that was going off, you know, we would take the child up front. 5 minutes later, they bring the child back with the attitude, you handle that, you deal with that. And meanwhile, we got 15 to 16 other children that we have to attend to while we're dealing with this child as what they like us to call challenging behavior. This child is running around the room like they're crazy. So we got to tend to this child while we're trying to tend with the other ones, you know. So um, it was very, very, very overwhelming, very, very, very stressful. Um, I didn't realize till I left the job uh, this week. It's been my first week off the job, and I feel like a big weight has been lifted off of me. You know, I didn't realize sometimes you could be under so much stress, and you could be used to dealing with that stress, and you could be so used to it, you don't realize how much stress you really are in. But that job has a tremendous amount of stress, you know. We would take them out on walks, and then that was a liability there because you had kids. If you have their 3-year-olds, they like to have meltdowns and all this kind of stuff, and so you had to deal with the possibility of them having a meltdown while you're trying to walk them down the street. So it was, you guys don't know the half of it. It was just so stressful. This is, I probably, out of all the jobs that I had, and I've had a lot of jobs, I think has to be the most stressful. I mean, the child care, daycare job had to be the most stressful job that I've ever had in my life because it was just a huge liability. Because, like I say, and then you have to deal with the parents. If the child got into an accident, or we had this child that was consistently beating up the children, and steady trying to talk to the parent, trying to tell the parent, you know, the parent, she's single parent, so I try to emphasize with her, so she's doing the best she could with the child. But this child it was very, very stressful dealing with this child because he was constantly always trying to beat up the other children all the time. So, and then we had other children like that too. He wasn't the only one. We had other children like that was consistently beating up hitting with the other children. So you have to deal with that when you're a teacher. When there's only two, or sometimes only two teachers in the classroom, because the ratio in my classroom was 10 to 1, 10 children to one teacher. What the management didn't understand is just because the ratio was 10 to 1 doesn't mean that you can manage the children, because if you got like out of that 10 kids, if you got like 3 or 4 kids that has what they call challenging behavior, then that's like having 2 other kids on top of that. So you got to deal with, even if you're one teacher in the classroom and you got 10 kids, if you got out of those 10 kids, if you got 4 kids that's got challenging behavior, then you have to deal with that. You have to handle that on top of trying to manage the other children. And so it's very stressful. I am so happy to be away from this job. The job is a tremendous amount of stress. I'm going to do a part 2. I'm not letting this video go too long. I'm going to do a part 2 to this, so stay tuned. This is Sweet June.